It's Jordan Moore, Shaun Cody, Max Browne, and Keely Eure back in her favorite seats, or our favorite seat, to have her join us for our football roundtable. I have a couple segments with you. So first, I wanted you mostly to catch us up as the expert on USC football and spring football in this particular case. What's the sort of number one storyline for you that has come out of spring football so far?
I mean, it's still kind of early. We're 2 weeks in, starting third week this week. But I think Lincoln said it earlier on the show. Year two is so much different for everyone in this program just because you're not still figuring out every tiny logistic. You know, Benny Wiley, the strength and conditioning coach, has had a year to transform bodies. You know, you're not still doing it on the fly as year one of spring camp is starting. I think everyone is getting more comfortable. And, you know, on Saturday, Lincoln Riley specifically highlighted Sierra Wright and how he looks more comfortable. And he was like, he's almost the breakout star of camp. And he was like, that's weird to say considering he started many games last year, but that's what he is. And so I followed up. I was like, why is he the breakout star? Like, what would you attribute that to? And he said confidence. And he was like, the players know what they're doing more this season, and you can do the same player, same call, same everything, but you add confidence and there's two different outcomes. So I think overall people are more settled in year two. Just everyone feels more comfortable with where they're at, and I think that leads to faster growth, if you will.
How's the schedule been? Obviously, they had those 2 early practices, take 2 weeks off. What did it look any different as in that first week as opposed to what they're doing now, or is it kind of similar? Or?
It was kind of weird, and that leads to the week 0 game that USC is going to have. So everything in the off season got moved up. So that's why Lincoln actually said he didn't like having a week off for spring break. I know that's something that the past regime used to do, but they had like a Sunday practice, a really early Tuesday morning practice, a Wednesday practice, and they were off for a week and a half. Came back last week. So I think last week they were still kind of getting in the groove of things, and that's why I said like we're only in the start of week 3 right now, so like there's not many like huge observations you're going to get out of me at least for this episode, just because
yes, there is.
It's still really early, but I think now 5 weeks straight you're going to get some progress, you're going to get some momentum in that sense.
How about some of the new faces? Who's popped, whether it's guys who's graduated early or some of the transfer portal guys? Who stuck out to you?
Mason Cobb, who you guys just had on, especially as a leadership role, someone we were talking about off camera, Tackett Curtis, the freshman. If you haven't looked at his tape, go look at his tape. He's crazy. I mean, even Dorian Singer, but that's the one who we all had a preview of last season.
On the wrong side of it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, a lot of the new guys, what Lincoln Riley has said is like, I've been pretty impressed with their evaluation out of the portal. Like so far, like a lot of these guys seem plug and play, but someone who I'm waiting to see is Christian Roland Wallace, who tweaked his ankle apparently first day of practice, but he is supposed to be a good DB for USC and up that competition at corner. So we'll see. But a lot of the new faces, they're all flashing at this point.
Yeah, there's somebody else too that in that secondary who I'm looking forward to, and that's Zion Branch. Everyone's talking about Zachariah Branch, but his older brother who was here last year, and I think probably, you know, might have started at a certain point of last season next to Kalen Bullock. Just by the end of the season, he almost looked healthy. I don't know what he was allowed to do by the end of the season, but he was suiting up, so you got to see him in a uniform. It's a guy that fills out the uniform, the kind of USC safety that I think people expect to see. Yeah,
well, the interesting thing is he knew he was out for the entire season, but decided to dress out anyway because he wanted to like bond with his brothers, is what he said. And Riley was actually asked about it. He said looking at Branch or Zion Branch in a uniform was like looking at a Christmas present under the tree before you can open it, just because, like you said, Jordan, he fills out that uniform like a safety would. And he said he's 100%. Lincoln Riley clarified he's like 75-80% full go, you know, so he won't do a lot of contact drills, but he's just now getting in the swing of things and practicing. So we haven't seen him do much, but still, he's the guy who looks physical and will be needed or used once he's healthy. So we'll see.
Any Caleb Williams news? He won the Heisman.
He did.
Last
yes,
year. Yeah.
He did.
Any updates on Caleb? How was? I mean, it's got to be strange. I mean, I've often tried to think about like his position coming back, and after winning the Heisman, you see him all over these endorsements and stuff. What's it like seeing him out there interacting with the team and being in that leadership role?
Honestly, the the weirdest thing for me in his return is his haircut.
Yeah, cutting the hair off. Game
Like that
changer.
to me, it just looks different. But otherwise, it's just Caleb being Caleb. I think that's the thing that people miss is like he's just a low key guy. He's a competitive guy on the field, but he's just like kind of there. I mean, the one thing that he did know is different this year is that he is kind of now he's no longer the young guy. You know, that was kind of his thing for a while, but he has to be a mentor. And one of those guys he's mentoring is Malachi Nelson. And that's someone who, you know, Lincoln, when usually Caleb will come off the field and talk to his wide receivers about how certain things just went, Lincoln's kind of like, no, you got to go help Malachi. Like, you have to help him see things that he's not seeing yet as a true freshman. So that's kind of the biggest difference for him is now that he's kind of the older guy now, even though I don't think he sees himself as much as that.
Yeah, any sense of the rest of the QB room? You mentioned Malachi. How's his transition going? Then obviously Miller was the story of last spring. It felt like in many regards with him, you know, turning the corner there. What's that number 2 QB position look like?
You know, I think it's too early to tell, but I think Miller still holds that down really well, especially because I didn't expect Malachi to do much this spring just because he had surgery in December, but it was on his left shoulder. But he wanted to go. So the first thing he did post-surgery was the first practice of spring camp. So he's still very much like raw rehabbing, but still wanting to get there and get the reps, mental or otherwise. So he still looks like a true freshman, still looks like a guy coming off of surgery, but still getting those valuable reps that an early entrant would get.
Jordan Moore, Shaun Cody, Max Browne and Keely Eure, our football roundtable, and I've got some questions for you guys. The first one I will throw out. I didn't realize how long it's been since we've done this show because they said December 12th was the last time we did a Trojans Live. So no transfers, no freshmen, no bowl game. All that has happened since we last did a show. So let's say the transfer that you are most looking forward to seeing out there on the field.
Well, Cobb was the easy choice. I think that's why he's on the show, because we were excited about, you know, what that could bring to the defensive room. And when you look back on the defensive performance last year, there was times when we saw some good defensive play, but we spent a lot of the year talking about bad defensive performances, and that's the area of this football team that really needs to get clarified. And I think a guy like Mason Cobb, who brings that kind of energy, is where you start, and you keep trying to add pieces to that. But I think I was most excited about, you know, talking to him and seeing his direction and where he thinks this thing can go.
I'm going to show some love to the O-line. Jared Kingston is the name I'm most excited to see. I had the luxury of calling the Washington State-Arizona game last year. It was the game game after he got hurt, and that was like a huge loss for the Washington State offensive line and offense in general. And the Cougs had a tackle go to the NFL, and their head coach was talking about Kingston in the same light as him. So I think the upside is there, and on paper, it's looking like it's maybe his left tackle spot to lose potentially, which that's obviously an incredibly valuable position that needs to protect Caleb's blind side. So looking out for the big man.
Am I allowed to answer this? I feel like I just talked about a lot of transfers that I've seen.
You not only are you allowed to answer, you have to, and you can't pick any of the two people that have been mentioned so far.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to mention Jamil Muhammad, which was kind of a random guy out of the portal, Georgia State, I believe, and he was someone who USC's coaches they got a tip from one of their, like, in the coaching circles. They're like, you should check out this guy in Georgia State. He's good. Like, and they checked his tape, and they're like, we can do something with him. And he was a quarterback turned inside linebacker turned outside linebacker. So he's super cerebral, super smart. And we got to talk to him last week, and Roy Manning talked about him as well and was like, he was a great addition out of the portal and used all three grades. So apparently they feel like they can do something with him at the outside linebacker position. So I'm curious to see what that looks like once he has practices under his belt at USC.
We're going to have to keep moving to the next one because you guys are taking a long time.
All right.
But,
short answers?
But my short answer is going to be, if you want to see a highlight, check out Marshawn Lloyd jumping a dude and his highlight tape last year for South Carolina, the running back that has come in. So let's switch from transfers to freshmen that you were most excited to see.
I'm just going to I get to go first again?
Yes.
Tackett Curtis. My buddy, one of my buddies texted me today. This is like, I forgot. We were doing the show, and I was like, he texted me, hey, how Tackett Curtis doing? And I was like, well, man, I was like, I have to start getting some more feelers on him because, I think the anticipation and you think it brings up names of Brian Cushing, and you see his bod, and he's ripped, and you see the highlight film, and he's making plays, and you're like, I think all the fans are kind of getting this feverish pitch about him, and there's excitement building. So I mean, a lot of things to live up to, but definitely I think I'm excited about him.
You already know my answer, Malachi. I'm excited to see what the hype's all about.
Zach Branch. He's
Zachariah.
Yes, but the shorthand is, you told me to be short. Zach Branch. That's my answer.
Fair. That did. A little Tyreek Hill.
Yes, that's the comp that Cody
little
Kessler's
Tyreek
making.
Is it? Yeah, Cody. Yeah. Sorry, he's not a little Tyreek. There is a little Tyreek Hill in there. Yeah, that's for sure. He is explosive.
Yeah.
It's funny. Mekhi Lemon's also come in that receiver room almost under the radar, and he's sort of another 5-star kind of guy too. So that room is crazy. All right, keep it real short. Returning player that you're most excited to see develop.
Go ahead, guys. I'm going to think first.
Rice.
Develop. I'm excited to see Max Williams back in action. I hope that he gets a shot at the nickel. I know there's a lot of bodies there, but I was expecting big things from him last year. Got hurt. I'm excited to see him again.
Brendan Rice. That's my answer.
Just building off of
his Cotton Bowl experience, and you were thinking really hard, so I'm just going to pass it to you, Shaun.
Yeah, Jonah Monheim. I think Jonah Monheim. There's some big shoes to fill in the offensive line, and I think he's one of those guys. Obviously, Coach talked about him a little bit, but had a great year last year. Needs to build on.
Love it. Zion Branch was mine. I'm very excited about Zion Branch.
Yep.
I think just in
Newcomer,
no, not a newcomer. He's like, will you call him a newcomer?
Yeah. I don't know.
The other one is Damani Jackson. I think another. There were two guys last year that I think could have really helped if healthy, and they never obviously got to that point. But maybe a different secondary last year if they did. All right, we got one more segment of Trojans Live coming up. Over under Dodger fan 96.5 wins for the Dodgers.
Over.
Max Browne is a Mariners
go,
fan.
M's.
88.5 is your over under.
Ooh.
Under.
Over.
Keely Eure is a
whatever it
very
is.
sad Angels fan. 81.5 is your over under.
Under.
Oh,
Under on 81.5.
best players in baseball. Right
That's
now.
right at 500.
Bad fan.
That means you're
And that would be
500
an
or worse.
accomplishment, Jordan.
And my Yankees at 94.5.
Boo.
Under.
Boo Yankees.
Feeling very bad
Good year
about
last
where
year,
things are going.
Coming back to earth.
Why?
Yep. Not. It's just it's a lot of injuries. I don't know.
Already?
Oh man,
Be
doom and
quiet.
gloom.
You-
Doom and
You know who's
gloom,
playing great?
Jordan.
USC baseball playing great. Top of the
True.
Pac-12. 7-2 in
true.
league.
Love that.
That's fine. And that is your baseball corner. Trojans Live is a production of USC Sports Properties and Playfly Sports. Our executive producer is Drew DeHart, producer Rick Cutler, our man Ben Conroy in the house, and all of our production crew. Thank you guys for being back and bringing it to us tonight. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. Until next week, fight on.